Hello everybody, welcome back to Screenstars and welcome to another of my top 10 lists. Today's top 10 list, I focus on my top 10 favourite westerns of all time. A genre that I have a huge amount of affection for. I've always enjoyed westerns. I've got fond memories growing up watching westerns with my dad, who was a huge fan of a lot of westerns, especially Clint Eastwood films, things like that. So I've just got such an affection for westerns. There's not as many these days. Obviously in the 60s and 70s they were really popular. Not so much in the 80s, but we still get some great ones in the 80s and 90s and beyond. And this list hopefully will reflect that, because it is across all different decades, this list. I make no apology that there's going to be quite a few Clint Eastwood films on this list, because I'm a big fan of Clint Eastwood westerns. But as always, guys, I would love to know in the comments what your favourite westerns of all time are. And if you have your own YouTube channel, maybe consider doing a list as well. So thanks very much for watching, guys, and I really do hope you enjoy this list. So there's a couple of honourable mentions that I want to include on this list. And the first one is Django Unchained. The first Western from Quentin Tarantino. It shouldn't have worked, but it absolutely did. It's ultra violent. It's got some really fantastic and memorable characters. It's got a great villainous turn by Leonardo DiCaprio and Samuel L. Jackson. And it's just really charming and endlessly enjoyable. And for me, it's one of the best modern day westerns. And I think Quentin proved that he's got a real talent for westerns after this film. The next one I want to talk about is 3:10 to Yuma. This came out, I think it was about 2007. Russell Crowe, Christian Bale, and it's a remake of an older film. And it follows basically Christian Bale, who's like a farmer who agrees to take this criminal played by Russell Crowe to face justice. However, Russell Crowe's gang is not having any of it, and they're kind of chasing them down, trying to get Russell Crowe's character back. There's a real bond and respect develops between the two characters, and it's just a really superb and well-made western that is worth checking out if you have never seen it. Now, coming in at number 10 on the list is another Quentin western. Now, some people would argue that Django is better than The Hateful Eight. I would disagree. I think The Hateful Eight, while it might not be as action-packed as something like Django Unchained, I think it is a real wonderful blend of a few genres that are dumped into a western. It's like a whodunit type thing. All these cowboys kind of in this one location trying to figure out who's the culprit. It's superbly cast. Fantastic dialogue and a really satisfying conclusion, and I just think it's arguably his best film, Quentin. Coming in at number 9 on the list is a rare western horror, and it is Bone Tomahawk. I was put off watching this one for a long time after the trailer, because I saw Kurt Russell, bless him, getting battered and bruised in the trailer and things, and I don't know why, but it just put me off. But after finally watching it, it just blew me away, this western. It is so effective, so brutal, so violent that it will shock you. It is, I think, a really gritty and effective western, but it's also a superb horror at the same time that will have you absolutely on the edge of your seat. Coming in at number 8, it's the absolute classic from 1960. It's The Magnificent Seven. This is one of those films that whenever it comes on telly, I can't help but watch. I grew up watching this constantly during the bank holidays and school holidays when I was a kid. And this was probably the western I was exposed to most as a youngster. And it's obvious. I know it's a remake of The Seven Samurai, and it's a formula that has been used successfully consistently since in all sorts of different genres. But for me, it's arguably the best when it's used in a western like this. The remake with Denzel Washington was good, but not as good as this. Coming at number 7 on the list is Open Range. I think this western is drastically underrated. I think Kevin Costner did a superb job with this film. Him and Robert Duvall have got brilliant chemistry as these like cattle ranchers trying to really just do the right thing and go straight. And, he's trying to do the right things, Kevin Costner, and then they are basically crossed and it unleashes something in him. And I think the gunfight at the end, which you got a taste of right at the beginning, the gunfight at the end of this film was very, very memorable. And I think this Western is one that he's adding to most people's collection. Coming in at number 6 is The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, released in 1966, the third of the Dollar trilogy. I mean, you could put them all on this list, but I could have filled this list with just Clint Eastwood films because he's made so many iconic ones. So I picked this one to put on this because it's my favourite of the Dollar trilogy. It's really fantastic, brilliant chemistry between the three leads, Lee Van Cleef, Eli Wallach, and Clint Eastwood. It's fun, it's funny, it's violent, and it's really, really memorable with some iconic music. And it's, for me, right up there with the best westerns from the 60s, easily. Coming in at number 5 on the list, it's that man again, Clint. It's High Plains Drifter. Stunning western, this one, I think, in many, many ways, about this mysterious stranger, which he made a career out of, really, Clint Eastwood in his westerns, riding into a town and agreeing to help these townsfolk who are being brutalized by this gang. But Clint Eastwood kind of has got his own agenda, shall we say. I don't want to spoil too many things if you haven't seen these films. My son, who's 16, recently watched this and quite enjoyed it as well. So he's just starting to get into Clint Eastwood films. Brilliant western. Coming in at number 4 again, we're getting to the good ones. This is Unforgiven from 1992. This is the film that really made Clint Eastwood once again the toast of Hollywood. Interestingly, Clint Eastwood has always kind of thought that The Outlaw Josie Wales was his best western. And you can see interviews with him saying that I think if Outlaw Josie Wales came out at the same time as Unforgiven, it would have been given the same plaudits as Unforgiven. But Unforgiven is undeniably an incredible western, superb cast, one of the best of all time in a western, and a brilliant, brilliant film. Coming in at number 3, Pale Rider. Some might be surprised that I've put this ahead of Unforgiven. I like the mystery of this film. This guy, again, mysterious stranger, riding in to help these people that are looking for gold, prospectors, masquerading as a preacher, but in actual fact he's something far more sinister. The film leaves it completely open for you to make your own interpretation of who is this guy. Is he a spirit or is he something else? And it just leaves it completely open, and I love that about this film, and it's a really, really beautifully made western. Fantastic. Coming in at number 2 is Tombstone. This one, at times, is my favourite western of all time. In fact, this and the first, and one at number 1, and those of you who know me well will know what's at number 1. I love this film. Again, I think this is greatly underrated, this film. I think this is arguably the greatest ensemble cast ever for a western. Everyone's incredible. You've heard all the stories. Kurt Russell supposedly directed this behind the scenes. Val Kilmer gives a career-defining performance, and for me, it is just absolutely brilliant, this film. Love it to bits. But of course, coming in at number 1, it just has to be The Outlaw Josie Wales. I don't really know what to say about this film. It's perfect. I can't give you any faults about it. It's violent. It's funny at times. The way it's filmed is stunning. Great gunfights. Iconic characters. And for me, this is far and away Clint Eastwood's best western. Again, it doesn't get the recognition it deserves these days because, it was made in the 70s. But again, film historians and western purists will look back and say, yeah, this film was absolutely stunning, and I can't really give you any faults with it. It really is that good, The Outlaw Josie Wales. And it's one of those westerns that I can put on at any time, just kick back and have a really, really good time with it, because it's just got everything that you would want from a western. So that's it, guys. That is my top 10 list of my personal favourite westerns of all time. I know there's loads of iconic westerns that are not on the list, like The Wild Bunch and all the others, the John Wayne ones and stuff, but I just didn't grow up with them. I have watched a lot of them, but they just have never really clicked with me. The ones that are on this list are the ones that are the most personal to me, and the ones that I can literally pretty much watch at any time and have a really, really good time with. So, as always, guys, I'm absolutely fascinated to know what you say in the comments. Give me your lists, and of course, I'll be back with plenty more reviews, content, and lists on the channel very, very soon.